From heartbreak to new beginnings. It was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. After 5 years of dating, countless ups and downs, and endless promises of forever, Luke and I were finally taking the next step. We'd set the date, planned the wedding, and all that was left was to sign the paperwork for our marriage license. I'd taken the afternoon off from work, giddy with anticipation, to meet him at the courthouse. But he never showed up. At first, I thought he was stuck in traffic, or maybe had forgotten the time. Luke could be scatterbrained, but he always came through in the end. I sat on the courthouse steps, clutching the documents, my heart sinking a little more with each passing minute. An hour went by, then 2. When I finally called, his phone went straight to voicemail. I went home feeling humiliated and confused. That's when I got the text. "I'm with Hannah. She's going through something and she needed me." Hannah. His first love. The one he'd always claimed was ancient history. The one he'd sworn didn't matter anymore. The one who apparently mattered more than our marriage license. I didn't reply. What could I even say? I spent the night tossing and turning, a storm of emotions raging inside me. By morning, I'd made a decision. If Luke wanted to prioritize comforting his ex over building our future, then maybe he wasn't the man I thought he was. At work the next day, my boss Ethan noticed something was off. Ethan was the kind of leader everyone respected, sharp, charismatic, and empathetic. He'd always had a knack for picking up on people's moods. "You okay?" he asked as I stared blankly at my computer screen. I hesitated. Ethan and I had always kept things professional, but there was something about his concern that made me spill everything. I told him about Luke, the courthouse, the text, and how utterly blindsided I felt. To my surprise, Ethan didn't offer empty platitudes or cliched advice. Instead, he listened, really listened. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "You deserve someone who puts you first," he said finally, "not someone who makes you an afterthought." His words hit me harder than I expected. I nodded, blinking back tears. Over the next few weeks, Ethan's support became a lifeline. He'd check in on me, offer words of encouragement, and even lighten my workload when he saw I was struggling. It was a kindness I hadn't realised I needed. Meanwhile, Luke was a mess of apologies and excuses. He showed up at my apartment with flowers and pleaded for forgiveness. "It's not what it looks like," he insisted. "Hannah was going through a breakup and needed someone to talk to, that's all." "And you couldn't tell her you had a fiance waiting for you at the courthouse?" I shot back. "Do you even understand what you've done?" He didn't have an answer, just more excuses. By the time he left, I knew our relationship was over. The man I'd planned to marry wasn't the man standing in front of me, and I deserved better. Ethan's encouragement didn't stop at kind words. One Friday evening, as the office was winding down, he walked over to my desk. "Any plans this weekend?" he asked casually. "Not really," I admitted. "Then let me take you out," he said, his tone warm but confident. No pressure, just dinner, a chance to relax. I was taken aback. Ethan had always been professional, but there was something different in his expression now. Something earnest. I hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Okay, dinner sounds nice." That evening marked the beginning of something I hadn't expected. Over dinner, Ethan and I talked about everything. Our careers, our families, our dreams. He shared stories about his childhood, his aspirations, and even his own heartbreaks. Ethan didn't rush things. He was patient, thoughtful, and respectful. He'd send me flowers at work, take me to art galleries, and encourage me to pursue my passions. For the first time in years, I felt seen, valued, and cherished. Luke, meanwhile, kept trying to win me back. He'd leave voicemails, send texts, and even enlist mutual friends to plead his case. But I'd moved on, emotionally, mentally, and soon, legally. 3 months after that disastrous courthouse day, I found myself back at the same steps. This time, though, I wasn't waiting for someone who didn't show up. I was standing next to Ethan, the man who had shown me what love and partnership should look like. We signed the papers quietly, without fanfare or an audience. It wasn't about grand gestures or Instagram-worthy moments. It was about commitment, trust, and building a future together. Afterwards, we celebrated with a small dinner at my favourite restaurant. As we clinked glasses, Ethan took my hand and smiled. "Here's to new beginnings," he said. "To new beginnings," I echoed, feeling a warmth I hadn't known was possible. It's been a year since that day, and I've never been happier. Ethan and I have built a life together that's rooted in mutual respect and unwavering support. He's not just my husband, he's my partner, my confidant, and my greatest cheerleader. As for Luke, last I heard he's still pining after Hannah, who moved to another city and started dating someone else. Maybe he's learned something from all this, or maybe not. Either way, it's not my concern. Life has a funny way of working out. What started as heartbreak led me to a love I never expected but always deserved. Sometimes the person who lets you down paves the way for the person who lifts you up. And for that, I'll always be grateful.